Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing, a podcast that supports the UK manufacturing sector. Hosted by Jeff Beacham, the Manufacturers Recruiter. Welcome to Insights for Manufacturing. Today we're going to be discussing collaboration in manufacturing. So I'm really delighted to introduce my guest today, Peter Davies, who is the co-chair at the Manufacturing Assembly Network, or MAN Group, and also the CEO of James Lister & Sons. So welcome to the show, Peter.
Thank you, Jeff. Pleasure to be talking to you.
Absolutely. So I know we've got some mutual contacts. I think it was Rowan Crozier who sort of made the introduction. Rowan's in that sort of ever-growing alumni of guests for Insights for Manufacturing. And I did sort of have a chat with him on that show a little bit about MAN Group. But yeah, interested to see where this discussion takes us today, because I know MAN Group is all about sort of collaboration, really, and that's one of my passions, really, in business and in sort of outside of work as well. It's such a powerful thing, and I think it's underutilized quite often.
Absolutely, yeah.
So would you be kind enough, Peter, to just give us an overview of MAN Group and what its sort of main objectives are in the manufacturing sector?
Sure, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
So MAN Group, or Manufacturing Assembly Network for its full name, was founded in 2006, so getting on for 20 years ago. And I think the genesis was really off the back of the collapse of MG Rover and the Peugeot Ryton plant. And at the time, there was quite poor support for manufacturing and engineering in the UK, quite a lot of foreign competition, and relatively low industry ambition and confidence. So not that dissimilar to what we find ourselves in today in some respects.
Yeah.
Really, MAN Group was founded to sort of try and counteract those challenges. So we've had, as I say, sort of 18 odd years of the group. It's evolved a little bit, a few different members over that time. So these days it consists of 6 manufacturing companies involved in everything from aluminium casting, precision stamping, hydraulics and tubular components, forgings, contract electronics, outsourced control panel manufacture, and then 1 engineering design company and 1 electric motor design consulting company. And manufacturing group as a support to us, which is incredibly powerful. And really the focus of the group, firstly, collaboration for sure, sharing best practice, a lot around lobbying for the importance of engineering and manufacturing in various ways, both as a group and as individuals within that group.
Yes.
Supporting STEM activities to try and drive the future of engineering and manufacturing. And then, also we do offer as a group this sort of one-stop shop manufacturing capability. So, I said focus, that's not a focus, that's a whole blend of a load of things, but it is all really around making manufacturing and engineering, important and trying to get that message out to everyone about how important that is, creating the future of it, and playing our own part as a group and as individuals within that ecosystem, really. So long answer to a short question, Jeff. Sorry.
Very well put. And you mentioned that we've been through, we are still going through some challenging times. I remember the 2005 Rover collapse vividly. That was back in my sort of earlier days of recruitment in sort of shop floor industrial temps. And it was devastating, who'd have thought back then, because, from a manufacturing perspective, that was big news, wasn't it? There were so many other businesses in the supply chain affected. But since then, we've had, the Great Recession, we've had Brexit and COVID, and now we've got this war in Ukraine that's causing chaos all over the place. I mean, there's so many, so many challenges for manufacturing, energy costs, the list is almost endless. So it's really good to see that you've, first of all, stayed together as a collective, through that time and through those challenges. So there must have been a whole host of learns, through those challenging times, both as a collective and individually. And sort of just on the collaboration piece, that's going to feature, I suppose, pretty heavily throughout this conversation. But I really get the benefits of the collaborative approach and what it means as an organization as a whole. But in terms of individual businesses within the group, you've got a really interesting spread of organizations. I think outside of maybe plastic injection molding or something like that, you could pretty much make most things, couldn't you? Between you, what are the sort of benefits, for the individual member companies then of the collaboration?
Well, we might come on to some of the gaps of things we can't do as a collaborative, because that's quite an interesting topic as well, and how we plug some of those gaps. But I mean, first of all, collaboration really is the absolute core. That is the raison d'etre of the group, really. So I suppose, first of all, how do we do it? We sort of meet monthly, physically. I mean, during COVID, obviously it couldn't be physical, but now we're back to fully physical because we find that's the best way to really share ideas. And we rotate around each other's factories and to the manufacturing group. And we tend to pick a topic each month and then share ideas around that. And almost every meeting we'll get an external speaker in to talk about those topics. So obviously, I mean, in my business, we bend tube as one of the things we do. Well, the other guys aren't that excited about tube bending per se. I mean, they're interested, but we're not going to spend a whole session talking about that. So we have to find things that are relevant to all of us. That's the crux of collaboration, really. Something that's meaningful for all of us. So just to give you some examples, in recent meetings, we've talked about using AI. We've talked about R&D tax credits. We've talked on numerous occasions about our approach to sales and marketing. At our next meeting, we're going to be focusing on operational efficiency. So each time, one company one or two will sort of take the lead. As I say, we might have an external speaker as well. And then we end up in a broad discussion, and we all come away with some ideas. And certainly every time you get to walk around someone's factory, even though some of them now, we've been around them 2-3 times maybe in the last few years, but you always pick up something new. So I'm not sure off the top of my head can give you a specific learning, but it's just that constant additive benefit of all the little ideas that you pick up. And then obviously there have been, in terms of how collaboration benefits us, sometimes we'll actually collaborate on customer projects. So there can be a customer who's got 2 or 3 businesses within the Man Group working together. So that's a very direct benefit, because obviously, we know each other quite well. There's not the sort of barriers between our businesses that you might find normally. We trust each other, so that's a benefit to us and a benefit to our customers.
And there's another big one as well, trust. Working that closely together can only be a good thing, for building trust in a relationship. And so you're sort of sharing, I was going to say sharing best practices, but to get to that, you've almost got to look at challenges and problems first and work your way back, haven't you? So it's sharing problems,
exactly,
and then brainstorming, I guess, and giving examples of what you've done individually to get over a common
exactly topic. So to take what we're going to work on next time, which is around really operational efficiency, I think we're all facing, off the back of that list of things you just went through, all the stuff that we've been buffeted with over recent times, and obviously we've now just had the new budget, which is equally like, oh, gulp, how do we tackle that? So we are all, not to say that we're inefficient, but we're all now looking for the next step again about what more can we do. So one of the businesses have been through some very structured, externally led operational improvement programs. So we're going to pick their brains on all those sorts of things. The discussion that will evolve will again give us some further ideas.
Okay, fantastic. And what about things like innovation? I mean, are there any specific projects that you can talk about? We don't want to go into anything confidential, of course, but I mean, are there any sort of projects or technologies that are being explored as a group?
Yes and no. I'd say we don't, because we're all doing such different things, to necessarily explore things directly together can sometimes be challenging.
Yeah.
It's never happened, but I would say, I mentioned AI. That's something that a number of us are exploring and sort of
Okay.
sharing ideas with each other about how we're applying it.
Yes.
Um, 3D printing is becoming a sort of mature technology to some extent now.
Yeah.
But again, a few of us have been through various work on that. And we look particularly at 3D printing for tooling. So, for
Right.
example, my business got involved with bending tube around a 3D printed plastic former, which
Yeah.
is quite exciting stuff. To bend a steel tube around a bit of plastic. It
Yeah.
doesn't intuitively sound like something you're going to do, but that's evolved on to, for example, you mentioned Rowan's business. They've then, off the back of that, been looking at using plastic parts, 3D printed parts, inside stamping tools.
Right.
Again, you immediately think, because normally both bending tools and stamping tools are all machined out of steel, which
Yes.
is expensive, takes a long time, etc. So 3D printing would be one of them. And I think the other big thing that many of us have got involved in through the WMG connection has been, and there's been quite a few funded projects that they've brought to the table for us, but one has been their net zero program. So a
Okay.
number of us went through as a cohort together, looking at what we could do, each separately in our individual factories on, sort of the move to green and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, fantastic, and that's a minefield in itself, and that's by the time this podcast comes out, there would have been one on that very topic,
Mm.
sustainability. So
Yeah,
really important, and I guess again that the benefit of having 6 or 7 or 8 businesses within the group, you've all got, no matter what the topic is, you've all got your own idiosyncrasies of how that
yeah,
affects your own business and what you're doing
yeah.
to maybe overcome that challenge. So fantastic. Okay, and what about the sort of wider SME manufacturing arena? I mean, lots and lots of different businesses are going through all kinds of different challenges at the moment. I mean, are there any sort of particular themes? I don't know whether it's sustainability or lightweighting, or I don't know.
Mm.
There's lots of different things that other manufacturers are looking for suppliers to help them with. Any sort of common threads there across the group, or any maybe that you've seen as individual companies that are, really, providing an innovative solution for a client, or something that's fairly new to the market?
I mean, I think you touched on, and we've touched a little bit on some of the big challenges that we're all facing as SMEs. Energy cost inflation has been a big one, and that seems to be coming back again.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've gone through global supply chain problems. We're constantly facing increased regulations. I mean, recently, in very recent times, we've had the UK CA marking, which thankfully has been shelved, and we're
Yeah.
jumping to CE. But I mean, loads of us put loads of effort and time into that. Um, we've got CBAM in Europe, and now coming on the horizon for the UK. We've got changes in packaging regs. So there's
Yeah.
lots of these things that we've all wrestled with and have then tried to help our customer base with. And because we work together on them, that's kind of allowed us to be a little bit of a step ahead, perhaps, as opposed to just operating as isolated little SMEs.
Yeah.
Skill shortages, we devote a lot of time to how we can tackle that. And as I just touched on a minute ago, we're all looking at operational efficiencies because we're just facing this constant inflation now, and the need therefore to grow. So yeah, really, I'm just sort of going around the same loop again here of saying it is all about collaboration and sharing
Yeah.
ideas, because there's always one of us in the around the table who's a little further ahead than the others.
Yeah.
You can share where they're at, bring everybody up to the same level as them, and then we move to another topic, and so it goes really. So it's that kind of, I hate to use a government terminology, but it's kind of leveling up really is sort of what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, or a constant. I don't know. I see it just as you were explaining that. Then I was picturing in my mind this sort of circle going round. It's almost like like a continuous. There's another phrase, a continuous improvement
Yeah,
within the group. So
it
you
is.
have a
Yeah,
challenge, you solve it together, you learn, you move on. Something else crops up, and then you sort of go again, don't you?
yeah. Because I suppose we get the benefit of in some senses being able to be like a large company. I think collectively we've got something like 1,500 employees, maybe more than that now.
Yeah,
Um, and yet we're all SMEs. So, that's quite a nice dynamic to have, really.
yeah. Really good support network.
Yeah.
So here's one of the the big sort of topics that everybody's talking about again at the moment. Skills, skill development, talent retention across the business. So I know how closely you all work together, but there is something
Mm.
specific that you sort of champion in terms of. I know you mentioned STEM earlier. So how do you want to explain how you sort of approach as a group, skills development and talent retention across the business? I think there's a specific
Yeah.
event in there somewhere as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. 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 So, I guess to start with, I'd say, all of our businesses are quite, all offer highly skilled engineering solutions to our customers.
Yeah,
So, skill development and recruitment and retention is absolutely critical to all of us. Um, Most of the businesses have several apprentices, and sort of as individuals within the group, many of us are involved in many things. So, many of us have or are school governors, or, for example, again, to pick on Rowan, Rowan chairs the Birmingham City University Industrial Advisory Board, and I'm
yes,
also on the board. Um, Also, we're involved with Mate UK, and then again, we're involved in many different college and school STEM activities. But I think that the thing you're referring to, the one flagship activity really, is our annual Man Group Design and Make Challenge. And what that is a free of charge event at which we have 15 to 20 schools bring teams of 4 students in years 10, 11, 12 for a full day. And they all look up with their teachers, really with no prior knowledge of what they're going to have to do, other than that
yeah,
they're going to design and make something, and they're given a brief, and they have to, from that brief, then design, test, and build a solution to a problem set on the day. And that could be anything from trying to lift something, make a hoist, or to make some sort of projectile that can travel a certain distance, or a wheeled vehicle that can run along a couple of wires that are strung across a room. So they get a kit of materials, they get support from engineers from our businesses and our apprentices. Um, and by the end of the day, they've all actually made something and achieved something. And it's an absolutely great day. And it's a real insight for many of them. Often their first insight into what real engineering might feel like.
yeah,
And
yeah.
this year, so it takes place in June, and this year we've had teachers after the event tell us that some of the students have actually changed their exam choices as a result of coming to the event, so that they could better pursue an engineering career.
Wow,
And
yeah,
it's quite, I think obviously in today's world, some youngsters don't get the opportunity
mm.
uh, that was maybe forced on those of us of an earlier generation to pick up a hammer or whatever, as a kid and repair stuff. Perhaps they'd be more used to sitting in front of a computer screen. So
Yes,
many of them start the day with no experience at all of hands-on, making things, and look like little scared rabbits in the headlights. Some of them,
yeah,
and by the end of the day, you can see the pride that they've got, that they've actually made something and achieved something and succeeded. And there are various prizes, but really it's a key thing to say. But everybody goes away a winner. They really do have a great day, and we have a great day because it's
yeah.
fantastic to see youngsters, the enthusiasm and the energy. And yeah, if we always say, even if we only ignite the passion in one person on that day's event to pursue a career in engineering and manufacturing, then we're happy. You know, it's been
Yeah.
time well spent. So
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Well, that's a real good case of making a difference, isn't it? And again, a really good collaborative approach. I know the facilities where you hold the event over at Warwick Manufacturing Group are great. So yeah, wow, that's every June.
Yeah,
I look forward to having a conversation in a little bit more detail about that with Austin Owens shortly. So we'll circle back to that in a subsequent
brilliant.
podcast. Okay, so in terms of things like sustainability across the group, do you encourage members to adopt more eco-friendly practices, or are you working together on how to become more sustainable? I mean, this has been around for a while now, hasn't it? And I think it's not just the end goal for businesses, it's just where the hell do we start? What do we need to do? Have we got the resources? Where's the best sort of information? It's an absolute minefield, isn't it? So how are you approaching that?
Yeah, it can be. So first of all, we definitely take sustainability very seriously. You know, and again, if I just talk about the business that I'm in personally, we're a business, James Lister and Sons, that is celebrating 150 years this year. We're a sixth generation family business, so you know, we definitely want the company and the planet to be here and in good shape for the next 150 years. And I would say, you know, really all of the other businesses in the Man Group have that. They might not have been around quite as long, but they all have that same ethos. Many of us are accredited to ISO 14001, which is the sort of health, the environmental standard. Although that doesn't necessarily drive you to make the sort of improvements per se that we really want to see. I mean, you should, but you know, that it's kind of a badge, but you still got to do the work, is I guess what I'm saying. And I think the thing that we all do recognise, and I hope you'd find most companies saying this now, is that doing the right thing is almost always the best financial thing to do as well. So, you know, everything from reducing waste to saving energy costs. Sometimes you've got to take the long view. You know, if you install solar panels, okay, you might not get a payback for 15 years, but it is financially the right thing to do. And again, to collaboration, you know, it is hard to know where to start. So the best way is to ask your mates, well, what did you do? And so that's exactly what we've done. So, you know, some of it is around some of the things we do, for example, is we track all of our offcuts of tube. So some of the other businesses have now looked at the way we go about doing that and are doing similar things, you know, to reuse those offcuts rather than chucking them in the scrap. Yes, they get recycled, but it's much better. You know, there's more cost and energy involved in that. If we can reuse a shorter piece on another job, great. So some of the other businesses have looked at that. Lots of things around that. And, you know, I mentioned before WMG, they have given fantastic expert advice to all of us really on the journey to net zero.
And what a wonderful organisation to have within the Man Group. You know, they don't come much better than Warwick Manufacturing Group, I guess. I mean, I would say that I'm in Birmingham, so that, you know, very close to the Midlands. Okay, what about? I mean, the sheer pace of technology advancement is staggering, isn't it? You know, we've gone from no computers to computers. We've gone from, you know, manual machining to CNC machining. We've now got 3D printing, robotics, AI. Crikey, you know, my head spins sometimes at the sheer, you know, breadth of technology that's at the hands of UK manufacturing. But as a group, how do you help the other members sort of stay competitive and ready for the future? You're all going to be in different sort of stages of business maturity and different product launches at different times and different materials and capital expenditure and so forth. But, you know, in terms of technology, do you have that sort of cross-fertilization of not necessarily just the knowledge, but, you know, you might be considering something for your business. Do you sort of think that through with the other Man Group?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, collaboration again. Really, it's about every time we get together, the first thing we do is we have a sort of round table catch up of what's new, really.
Yeah.
And if somebody's just embarking on an interesting project, they'll share it, quite openly, even if they haven't really got very far with it yet. And it's useful because somebody will say, "Oh, well, either I've already done that, or can I be part of that with you? Can we go on that journey together?"
Yeah.
Um, I think you mentioned robots and cobots. A number of us have investigated that, and for some of it's been relevant, and for others it hasn't been.
Yeah.
But having that shit and WMG again, great support on that. So yeah, it's all kind of horses for courses. I was on an AI course recently, which I've subsequently shared with the group. And one of the guys who was running that came up with a very useful phrase, which you could apply to all technology, I think. And he actually said, if you've got an AI hammer, everything looks like a nail. And
Yeah.
I think you've got to be a little bit careful with that, because there is a danger that suddenly you want to solve everything with AI, or you want to solve everything with robots. And you can go down a blind alley if you're not careful, a very expensive blind alley. So, I think that's where, by sharing our experiences with each other, and some people say, well, that worked for me, or that didn't work for, what didn't work is as helpful as knowing what did work. But
Yeah.
also, you're right that at the end of the day, we are all in different fields, so we do have to do some of the work for ourselves. I don't want to hold the man group up as being some miracle cure that everybody else tells me what to do and vice versa, because we are still individuals.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do talk about all these technologies, and sometimes it'll be things. I mean, like I just mentioned CBAM, for example, as a piece of legislation that's just recently come out. And I mentioned that at one of the previous meetings, and some of the guys said, "Never heard of it."
Yeah.
But when I explained what it was, they're like, "Blimey, I need to understand that, because that's going to affect our ability to supply product to our European customers, for example." So it's just that sharing of knowledge and experience is really good. It's really helpful.
Yeah. And I guess that would probably sort of extend to the sort of commercial and financial elements of a business as well. I mean, as you say, you're all individual businesses, and some things may be more transparent than others. But I'm sure you talk pretty openly between you. But I think from a manufacturing perspective, there's always a lot of focus on the technology, the manufacturing process, the supply chain, the materials, the skills. But the actual commercial and financial acumen you need as business leaders,
Yeah,
not everybody is trained as an accountant. Not everybody's great on that side of things. And, a lot of leaders, unless you're from a sort of finance
yeah,
background, it's a real challenge, isn't it? So I'm
yeah.
sure there's probably areas where you've, thrashed around those problems between you as well.
Yeah, I'd say less on the finance side, because I think we've probably all got pretty good FDs in each of our businesses.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in some ways, finance is a be careful if you've got any financial guys listening to this, they'll shake their fists at me. But I think that's a fairly mature kind of field, whereas I think probably the commercial and the sales and marketing from business to business, that's still quite a challenging area. So we do
Yeah.
spend quite a lot of time on that, and we do, within the bounds of confidentiality. If certain of us have had to sign up to different things with customers, and obviously we have to adhere to that. But
Yeah, of course.
we will share knowledge of customers, because often if I've got a customer, one of the other guys, it might be a good opportunity for them. So we will introduce each other to people and do all
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But I think so. What sits behind your question is perhaps another point I'd make, is that running a business can be, even if you've got a good team around you, it's still can be quite a lonely experience, as you know yourself, Jeff. And you know, being part of a group of people that you can be quite open with,
Mm.
that's quite helpful. I think we all sometimes need to just pick the phone up and say to somebody, "I've had an awful day, and this has
Yeah.
happened and that's happened." And you can go home to your partner or you can talk to your other colleagues in the business, but sometimes it's good to talk to somebody else and they go, oh, it'll be all right, sort of thing. And it will be, but it's good to hear that from somebody else who's been sat in exactly the same seat that you're in. So that's quite, that's a soft aspect, if you like, of being part of the man group, but equally powerful.
It's got its value as well, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and in terms of James Lister, then, what do you think the most valuable thing is for your business in terms of Man Group? And I suppose flipping that, what do you bring to the table as an individual business that that's been really useful for for the other guys?
Oh, blimey. Probably have to ask them that. I think, well, I suppose, obviously we bring our specific knowledge of our fields, which is tube bending. I've mentioned fluid power. We also do a little bit of motorsport. We do general engineering, subcontracting, and we provide industrial supplies. So, we've got a lot of knowledge in those specific fields. And we've got a very proven approach, really, after 150 years of, a long tradition of customer service. So some of that. We're also a multi-site. We have 6 sites, so management of quite a complex multi-site business.
Mm.
And my personal area of interest, I suppose, is around employee engagement and really making work meaningful and enjoyable. So, to give you an example, I mean, our average length of service in our business, average across 100 people, is over 13 years. And many staff have had their entire career with us.
Yeah.
So, if I get the chance, I'll expound on employee engagement and all that sort of stuff at length, probably till I bore them all. But, I think some of them have taken away some thoughts from that.
Yeah.
What have we benefited from specifically? I guess, collaboration again, in all the senses we've talked about. And I think even though we're with 100 people, we're sort of perhaps what you call a medium-sized business, but being part of Man Group gives us an even bigger platform, and that, it's quite advantageous. I think I've really touched on the other point that, just being part of a group and having that support network in all sorts of ways, both the kind of shoulder to cry on, can ring that guy up and, he'll tell me how to solve that problem because I know he's done it, or even, he's probably got a spare part for my 3D printer machine, as crazy as that. So it's that it's just being part of something a little bit bigger that just gives you that extra ability to get through the day.
Yeah, wonderful. And all business leaders need that. Absolutely. So, I mean, it's been a fantastic discussion today with you, Peter. Really, really insightful. Just looking ahead then, what are the overall sort of plans or goals for Man Group in the next few years? I think when you and Austin joined me on a sort of intro call a week or so ago, I know you were looking at sort of growing the design and the design and make challenge. You want to put a bit of rigor around that, or give any other sort of areas that you're sort of strategically focusing on as a group moving forward?
Yeah. Well, I think in terms of growth, the first thing is like I sort of mentioned earlier, you mentioned plastic injection molding, for example, and today we don't have a plastic injection molder in the group, and we quite like one. Yeah. So, in fact, there are. But it doesn't have to be that, because it's not specifically about the disciplines that we've got, although it would, that is a gap, if you like. There are many other gaps we could fill. So really, we would like to grow the Man Group, to spread all the benefits we've talked about.
Yeah.
But we do believe that you've got to keep it fairly small to really create a real collaboration. I think if the group had 100 members, there's no way I'd know them all as well as I know the other 7, if you like.
Yeah.
So we are interested, if any businesses wanted to think about becoming a member. We're, at the moment we're 8, plus Warwick Manufacturing Group. We think it'd be nice to get maybe to 12. Okay. So there's 4 seats around the table that we'd be interested in. That would help us naturally then as well in our ability to try and expand what we do on the design and make challenge, because we'd like to get to 30 schools. I suppose, eventually we'd take over the world, but, if we could get to 30, it'd be a good start.
Yeah.
And so on that basis, we're interested in any businesses who'd like to sponsor us or give us any sort of support. And really, apart from, we think it's the right thing to do, but it's also a great corporate social responsibility opportunity for any business, especially maybe some larger businesses, who really need to tick the box and report in our annual report. Well, they said, come along, have a look at what we do. And I think they think that's a great thing to do. Really helps the future of engineering. And they can, tick the box. But it doesn't have to be a large company. It could be any other SME just like us who really wants to be part of something where they can really add back, give back into the community, and especially, the next generation of engineers. So those are two. And then I think the other thing really is that despite the damage we think has been done to the business environment by recent events, including the recent budget, we will continue to lobby and feed into government policy, especially the industrial strategy that the government has promised they're going to put together. Picking up on Rowan again, Rowan, as you probably discussed when you met him, is chair of Make UK's National Membership Board, so he has quite a good route into that. I'm on the Small Business Growth Forum of the Department for Business and Trade, and we've got many other members in many other influencing routes. So, that's something as a group we're quite passionate about. I think it's those three things. Really, it's, we want to do more and better of what we already do. And just have a focus on how we can individually and collectively play a part in growing British business.
And there you are. What a great way to sort of round up the conversation. You've got a great template already, and it's just really making it a little bit bigger and a little bit better for everybody. And as you say, UK manufacturing in general. Great. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our discussion, Peter.
Thank you very much. It's been good.
You're very welcome. So there we go. We've come to the end of another episode of Insights for Manufacturing. Thank you to the listeners or any of the viewers, and look out for the next episode of Insights for Manufacturing. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.